All right. So now you've got a ton of leads, right? That's what this whole platform is about, is getting a bunch of leads into your system, into your ecosystem, so that you can follow up with them and get them to take actions. But step one is having those leads. Now, you've got your account on Capital Audience, so you've got that covered. And if you're running ads to your platform in order to generate that traffic, and that's what you're getting the identified individuals from is ad traffic, then you got it in the pocket. These are literally the best kind of leads that you could want in your business, and you'll have plenty of them coming in. So the goal here is like people aren't going to like randomly stumble on your website. I've heard some individuals say, oh, I'm not sure about my website traffic, who's coming there and what they might, it might not be a good audience. No, that's wrong. The people coming to your website are literally the best kind of people. It's not like your website's out there where people are just going to stumble on it and be like, oh, what's this random website on the internet? Like that doesn't happen. People are typically very intentful about what they click on, what they go to, and what they look at, unless you're running an ad on a display network or something. Then okay, I'll get it, right? Or if you've got an ad on an app, okay, I get it. Like that traffic is going to stumble on your website. But generally speaking, you don't have billions of links out there where people are just stumbling onto it. Like that's a very small fraction of a problem, if at all. So the people coming to your website are typically going to be the warmest traffic. They're coming there to see what you have to offer. They're interested in your products and services, and they're reading through your website. And typically, it's the copy that cause them not to convert. Like that's the biggest thing. Like you hear all about conversion rate optimization and all this stuff, and you got the developers saying, oh no, I can do it better, I can make it, the functionality of it, whatever needs to get higher up. And you got the graphic designers be like, oh no, it needs to be a pink button and bigger, that's what's going to get you. No, that's all wrong. It's the copy. If the people show up on your website, now given, if it doesn't function and they can't see because there's too many images, okay, that's going to be bad CRO from those two departments. So get those two departments out of the way and get your copywriter and your marketers in there, because that's going to be the most important to your conversion rate optimization. The reason that people are abandoning your website is typically not because they looked at it and they're, I don't want to go with this company. It's because they didn't get the answers, the questions answered that they were looking for. They typically are kind of trying to find, oh, does it do this? I'm not sure if it does. Maybe I'll go find another vendor that does. Okay. I'm looking, do they offer this service? Do they provide this? Can I get this benefit out of it? I'm not sure. And if they don't get those things answered, or maybe they read your guarantee and they're like, oh, I'm not sure. It sounds like that guarantee is like they're trying to try and get out of work or something, and they have hesitations and then they opt out. Typically it's because of an objection or information that they didn't receive is why they abandoned your website the majority of the time. Other than that, the people that visit your website are typically the best quality leads that you could ever want to access. So the identity resolution piece gives you the freedom. It's like having somebody walk into your business and look around your shop and kind of look at things. And if you never spoke to that person and then they just walk out and leave, and you'd be like, I don't know why they came. I don't know what they're looking at. They clearly looking at something, but they just disappeared. And think about like you stepping out and say, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is there something you were looking for that I can help you find? Well, yeah, I was kind of looking for this thing and I didn't find it. I was like, I actually got those in the back, and you pull them back in and you get a sale. That's the same thing that's going on your website. Typically, your website is a shield. Like it prevents any kind of relationship from happening because somebody just pops in, they look around and disappear, and you have no idea. So getting eyes on the situation, that's really what I'm all about. It's trying to allow you to see what's happening so that you can actually be in your shop and watch people walk through and see them and have a conversation with them. Okay. That's the biggest thing. Is this is breaking down the barrier of the anonymity of what the online has provided. And it's basically just giving you the ability to stand there and be a shop owner and allow people to come to your website and interact with them like we haven't had before. So we're breaking down those barriers. Now, reactivating. So let's talk about that, because now that you have these leads, that's what's going to be important. It's going to be important that you have a way to contact these people and to communicate with them and speak with them. Now, all the data is opt-in and it's all illegal from that standpoint. So when we give it to you, everything is kosher. We have so many lawyers look through it, and they're constantly looking through it to make sure everything's in compliance. Okay, so that's not an issue. when it comes down to like privacy and data and all this kind of stuff, it really is how you communicate with these people that is going to get you in trouble or not. Not necessarily that you have the data, it's how you go about using it. So, can spam. I love the email can spam because it literally means I can. And if they ask me to stop, that's when the law kicks in, and then I have to stop. Okay. Now with a phone, and the TCPA, if you look up, go Google 2021 Facebook Supreme Court TCPA, the Facebook obliterated the TCPA. Okay, they won a massive um, lawsuit that was held against them. They contacted somebody that was like, "I never opted in, and you contacted me, and I'm suing Facebook for that." Well, typically, multiple companies have taken the TCPA ruling to the court, and each time it was like, nope, 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 those aren't good arguments. So the argument that Facebook brought to it was, hey, in the TCPA, it literally says that an auto dialer is something that randomly generates a telephone number, and we didn't randomly generate it. We had this person's phone number on file. It doesn't matter how we got it. And the Supreme Court upheld that argument. So for a couple of years now, it's been a little hidden secret that we've been able to text message people like crazy without actually violating that law. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody can't sue you. I mean, anybody can sue anybody for any reason, and you go to court and prove that it's legit or not, right? So the TCPA litigators and predators are still out there. So our data is clean. It's none of those litigators are able to get their phone number into our list. It's totally clean. It doesn't mean that before we run a campaign, we don't clean and take all those precautions just to make sure that we have the longest lasting campaign. Now, in July 2023, I think some new laws are going to take effect for the TCPA. Basically, Congress realized, oh man, we did a huge blow. We have to rewrite this whole law. And I think they're supposed to come out with some new stuff. So it's up to you. Go check that out, see what it's about. It's probably going to be what they intended to implement originally. However, one thing that didn't fall under there was businesses, I think, or maybe that was cold calling, the do not call list. So on the do not call list, when it comes to calling these people, basically, we've run a ton of these leads through call centers, and if it's a business, if it's a work telephone, which will give you that indicator on the listing if it is a work telephone number, you can contact those. They don't fall under the do not contact law or act. So you can actually call those individuals. A business cannot put their phone number on the DNC. So if you're calling that business for the purpose to establish a commercial relationship with them, doesn't fall under cold calling. So you can totally do that. Okay, so basically the laws come down into how you contact those people. Now, if you're contacting through, so in this list, in this article under this video, I give you a complete list of the different ways that commonly we go about contacting these leads and following up with them. Now, Capital Audience really came about because we were sending a massive amount of emails and a ton of text messages, and we needed to contact more people. We were sending, I think, something like 20,000 messages, text messages a day, and never got any TCPA complaints. And we were sending 250,000 emails at one point. And I'll tell you how we go about that and how you can get there as well. And we were running out of audience. We had like a couple million people. Like it's going to last us forever. And within a couple of months, it's like, oh my gosh, we've been burnt through those lists in every way possible that we need more people. And so that's really where Capital Audience came out of, was that we were like, okay, I as a data scientist, software engineer, and that was where my skill set originally came from before I got into marketing for half a decade. And so I relied on those 2 decades of engineering experience to be like, okay, we need to get more people, and I have experience and relationships in the data industry, and so I can put something together that would allow us to have like an unlimited audience of people to contact ongoing. And so I tested audience after audience, and I tested data provider, and there's so much data out there that you can buy, and we basically stitched all these breadcrumbs together, and we test many times with people. And probably 90% of what we failed on in those audience, we never released to the public. And probably another 5% of what we failed on, we did release and everybody failed and it's not good. So we shifted. And now what's available on the platform is what has been proven, what we've weeded out and actually run campaigns against. And we know, like, all right, it's good data. And this has been a long road to get here, to get good data and weed out of the entire industry what actually works and what doesn't. And now we have the ability to target audience. The core of behind this is the identity resolution. That's going to give you the hottest and warmest audience, and you're going to be able to really boost and throw fuel, kerosene on your campaigns, and really just generate a ton of leads out of your ads that are coming to your website, and really be able to make those campaigns effective when you otherwise wouldn't be able to. So SEO campaigns, huge opportunity to generate leads when the opt-in rate is like less than 0.1% or something crazy. And so you've got all these different traffic methods that you can use. And now you don't have to necessarily work on your conversion rate optimization like you used to. You used to have to guess at it. But now with the identity resolution, you can contact these people and be like, why did you abandon? Oh, this or that, or problem happened. And so then you go back and update your website with that feedback that you've gotten from these abandoned leads. And that will really get your conversion rate climbing. Okay, so now that you have these leads, now that we kind of talked about that you have to be wary about how to contact them, I kind of want to go through and talk about the different methods, kind of like an overview, and just give you an idea of what to expect when getting into each of these different reactivation campaigns. So first off, you've got email marketing. It's literally the first thing everybody wants to go to if they want to say, "Hey, let's target them for email." And actually, I tell people to hold up and say, you know what you need to really do is not get into this endless cycle of getting people onto a list so that you can market to them and get them onto a list so that you can market to them and get them onto a list. And I see this happening with marketers all the time. Nobody wants to actually pull the trigger and like get that lead to take action. Everybody's so scared of like getting that lead to take action. The craziest thing in the world. So what we did is that we would take these audiences that we were creating and some of the cold audiences from behavioral intent through the platform. You're generating these audiences, and we'd send them a text message. They'd respond, and we just call them, and we just call them, and we just call them. Be like, they're interested in the offer, just call them. That worked so well to book so many leads through the platform. And then what we found is like, oh, the show rate was really low because it was such a fast process. It worked so well to send them a text message, find out if they're interested, and just call them. We were booking like really fast, and that caused a trust issue because you have so little time nurturing and building a relationship with that lead. It's like, hey, you're interested, great. Hey, just confirming that you booked this time for this. You hang up, and then they never show up, or they'd show up like 50% of the time. You're like, why do we have this massive no-show rate? Well, we went back to the drawing board, and we're like, hey, the ads that we're running actually have a really good show up rate. Out of the people that go through and sign up for an ad, they had a great show up rate. So what we ended up doing was saying, hey, let's not call these people right away. Let's send them the offer, and instead of like going straight to appointment, let's add some nurturing step in here and basically send them to a landing page before we actually contact them. And that works really well. So we'd contact a cold audience, we'd send them a text message. Are you interested in this offer? If so, I can send you a short video that explains how it works. And really, what we started doing is matching what we gave people with the communication channel that they were on. And so, if, for example, if somebody's responding to an email, they don't want to jump and switch to the phone. but they're more than happy to click a link and go look at something because that's what they're in the mode in, is like, oh, I'm kind of exploring and I'm on my computer and I'm not going to leave my computer. Okay. If they're on the phone, you're definitely going to want to respond to something that they can access on their phone easily, a link or something. They go, okay, watch that real quick and be done with it. And if you're on the phone, don't switch to email. Okay, I'll email you some research. You never hear back from that person, right? Um, you want you from the phone, you go to the phone, you go to another meeting, okay, or you switch to like you call them and then get them to log into your Zoom while on the phone, and that's how you switch meeting. Holding, switch venues is you hold their hands. So that's kind of some basics of how we evolved in order to create the campaign to start sending people messages. Now, back to the cold email. Everybody wants to cold email these leads. Now, we do everything that we can in order to get you an accurate email address. That doesn't mean that all the time, 100% of the time, that we're going to be able to get you accurate emails from the leads to show up to your website. I'm finding that they're pretty accurate, but there's no guarantees on that. I don't know what to expect. I just, general rule of thumb, I've gotten in a habit and I just clean the list. And I can talk about different services for cleaning the list later, but I always clean it. And so I clean the email. And now if you want to drop it into your Klaviyo or drop it into these other platforms, that's okay. There's a lot of people that do that and they successfully run it for months and months and months. So long as it's not a ton of traffic. Like your complaint rate has to stay under 1%. So if you're already sending a massive newsletter list of, 100,000, send that daily, and get and send things that get people to respond to that list. That's going to give you a really strong domain where you can, send 100, maybe 1,000 people messages out from your Klaviyo accounts and be totally good. And typically, e-commerce companies have a very strong email newsletter presence already, along with all of the transactional emails and customer service that are going out from the domain. However, if you violate that 1%, pretty much every platform is going to shut you down. Okay, you can load up an email account, you send 1,000 emails from it, and boom, that email is done and dead. So I would strongly suggest that you not risk that. I would strongly suggest that you protect your own domain. Protect your, I mean, if it's a Klaviyo account and it's not sending from your domain, okay, well, that's not a situation. However, I still like to protect that stuff. So I kind of have 3 tiers on how I do email, and I can go into that exhaustively later. I like to treat it like cold, clean it, send it from micro accounts where you set up an account. It only sends 30 messages a day. And then you get 100 accounts and you can send 30,000 or 33,000, 30 hundreds of emails a day. And so that's how I like to treat it. And then it's just perpetuating. However, if you're new to this, I would strongly suggest you not really start with email. There is so many problems in the industry is changing so constantly that just a small hiccup and the domain is blacklisted, the IP is blacklisted, and you just can't send emails. And the last thing you want to do is burn your domain where you're trying to close a deal. I was trying to close on a house, and the mortgage company is like, we're not getting any of your emails. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my cold email campaign fried my beerjack.com email for I don't know how long, a couple of years it felt like. So and then but anyway, so I like to protect that. That's what I like to call my branded account, my branded phone numbers, my branded email addresses. And when I'm doing business, I do not threaten those accounts. As a matter of fact, I use warming practices on those accounts to keep them as hot and ideal as possible. So I'll use cold email tactics to keep those accounts out of the spam box, and then I keep my cold email super separate. And I like to treat this like cold because you never know really what the response is going to be. And with your marketing messages that go out to a new person, if they're not expecting it, they're just like, I'm just gonna trash it. And things like Outlook, we find a huge number of people will market as spam on Outlook because Outlook will actually ask them, is this spam? And put up a big old banner and button there. And they just like, yep, that's easy. Click. And so you go to spam so much more often there because it's easy for them to click it, right? Um, and other platforms have other things that they suggest. And so they're not so quick to catch on. They treat it in different other ways. So I would say full email is super complicated. There's a lot to deal with there, and I would just probably suggest that you grow into that. Don't try and do it right off the bat. Unless you can do it like one tiny account, just practice that one account. And say if it's for your own email system, great. Grab a limit, send 30 messages a day, plenty for your website. If you get under than that, which most marketing agency websites historically have the lowest traffic volume on the internet. So, a couple accounts and you'll be fine there. But for your customers, if you're trying to scale, like don't do it. Like we have affected the cold email industry trying to scale, buying thousands of email accounts at a time. $100,000 to buy a couple thousand email accounts and on well-known ESPs and the domains, getting it all set up and configured, and then having those ESPs throw red flags saying, "Oh, nope, something changed in this," and we're blocking all these accounts and stuff. So don't try to scale overnight. Don't try and scale the email fast. Start very small. Now, I was long-winded on the cold email. When it comes to text messaging, laws are changing when it comes to text messaging. And it is mostly not the law that you have to prevent yourself from in cold email or in text messaging. It's other people. It's the phone carriers. It's the internet service provider. It's the email service providers that are really protecting the experience that their customers are receiving. You do cold LinkedIn outreach, the government doesn't care. It's LinkedIn that cares about the experience that their users are having. It's the phone company that cares about the experience that their users are having, and those are the ones that are going to do their best to protect against like unsolicited messages, basically. So that's what you have to watch out for. Text message, you're going to run into that, and so there's ways to warm it and all that. We'll get into that later. Start small. There's tons of text message service providers out there that you can grab emails, you can send small and do all these things to protect it, just like with cold email. Another really difficult um, system to try and scale. Now, either of those you can do small numbers, okay, but when you try to scale those to 5,000, past 500 text messages a day into 50,000, it really, really gets difficult. Okay, so I'd be shy on that if you don't have the resources to just be changing stuff every single day or and buying new email accounts every day. Um, the the most safe and the most secure way to reactivate these audiences is either ads, cold calling, and USPS, United States Postal Service snail mail. Those are the safest ways to reactivate these audiences without running into any legal issues. Now, when cold calling, one tactic that we would use is making the majority of the phone call about a survey, because we want to confirm the audience, and so we'll call them and say, "Hey, this is my name's Jonathan from Capital Audience. I just want to reach out. We're doing a survey for business owners. First thing I want to, I totally apologize. You're probably in the middle of dinner and want to stab me or something, and I apologize. But I'm sure you understand it's necessary to do this. I have a question. Are you a business owner? Yeah, I am. Okay. It's just like confirm your audience, and you have to slightly treat this audience different, and I'll get into that in a minute. So you confirm it. You call them and say, hey, I just have a couple questions for you. Are you looking for this desire, this ultimate solution outcome? Are you dealing with these obstacles, or are there any obstacles that you're dealing with that's preventing you from getting that outcome? And you survey them, and then, oh, okay, so yeah, it sounds like you do this and this and this and this. Have you recently done any searches online or anything like that to look up this information? And you confirm your audience. You got a good person here, and typically keep it in mind, like it could be somebody else in the household too. So just keep in mind. And then lastly, you might be saying, oh, great. Actually, we have a service that provides a solution for this to overcome that obstacle and helps you get the desire. If that's something that you're interested in, maybe we could set up a follow-up call. I could provide you with some more information and then you can convert them. But if the majority of the phone calls is survey, then you totally get around the DNC. And if it's to a business, you get around the DNC. So there's ways that it's just how you approach it, right? So cold calling, it works fantastically well. Now, the second thing is, of course, digital ads. Now, a lot of people will take these lists and put them back into advertising, which it totally works fine. Especially if you take 10% of your budget, you move it over into identity resolution, you get 50 times more leads. You start resolving at a higher rate, and you're able to run retargeting ads to all those individuals. And that works out really well because we're actually able to identify people at a higher rate than Facebook is because they're using cookies and Apple is preventing them from doing that. So they're getting blocked out. And we use a bunch of different methods to kind of circumvent what Apple, we're in this war against Apple of what we can track them and they're trying to prevent us. But so we're that's what we're focused on. That's the problem we're focused on solving. So we actually are able to resolve at a good rate. So digital display ads can be effective there. That's always easy, just to use the pixel and push it right back in. Secondly, United States Postal Service is another great. The USPS is probably the one provider that's not trying to eliminate spam on the mailbox. They're begging people, please send lots of mail. We'll give you a discount to send tons of mail to these people to their mailbox because we're begging for more service. And So that's the one for those are the two providers. We've been contacted by so many companies that manage a outbound campaign for mailing, especially if you have people that show up to your website that are right here in your town. And you can send them a discount to say, hey, come through our car wash. Hey, come into the store and get 10% off. Hey, whatever, and communicate with us and open up that line. That is a great way to reactivate people with those, is to give them an incentive through the mail. And then you couple that with display, and then you start getting this holistic view of the customers kind of seeing you everywhere and building up that know, like, and trust effect. So the safest ways to reactivate are snail mail, digital ads, and then cold calling, super effective. Followed by email and text message and voicemail drops, which I don't even know the legal surrounding that. So that's there's a lot of other ways to reactivate and retarget these individuals. But one thing that you can know for sure is, like, you can even find these people online on their social and go reach out to them and contact them that way. So there's a lot that you can do in those areas. To get these leads reactivated, and this wasn't intended to be like an exhaustive deep dive. I'm just giving you an idea what to expect, and now that you have leads, what you do with them. So the other marketing tutorial videos that we're going to put in here are really about, like, the different experiences that we've had reaching out over the different types of markets and what to expect from the audit. I hope this helped.